Hi, my name is Matthew Bellisario. Welcome to the BellisarioSonic YouTube channel from the heart of the Deep South on the outskirts of Birmingham, Alabama, where we talk about music, records, do record reviews, interviews, and much more. Today, part 3 of our conversation with saxophone player Cristiano Giardini. If you missed the first two parts, you're going to want to go back and check those out. The first part, Cristiano talks about his background in jazz, his education, growing up playing music, and his love for jazz. Part 2 was the whole making of this fantastic record here next to me. You're definitely going to want to hear the story about that and how he put this record together and how all the musicians came together to actually make this wonderful record. Here, you're watching this is part 3. Part 3, if you're a vinyl collector, which people that watch this channel are a lot of vinyl record collectors, you're going to want to watch this wonderful conversation with Cristiano where he talks about his favorite saxophone players. We go through some vinyl records that I show him, and he gives his feedback. Very fun to talk to him. He has a lot of knowledge about all of these wonderful jazz musicians, and we really had a lot of fun talking about these records. So here is part 3. And later on, a week or so out, I will just put the whole video, the whole hour and a half out as one long episode. So if you want to go back and watch the whole thing all the way through, you can do that. All right, so here's part 3. So my next thing is to show you some records, because people that come to this channel love vinyl records. I don't know, do you collect records? Vinyl records and CDs and everything? Are you a big collector, or do you listen to a lot
I'm
of
a
streaming
collector.
things?
No,
Oh,
I'm a
cool. So tell
collector.
me a little bit about that. Huh?
I'm a collector. I started with the cassette. I started that time with the cassette when I was young. Then
Yep.
there were the mini disc. You remember the mini disc?
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
have
I have one
I
of
have
those. Yep.
hundreds of them. Then of course CDs. I prefer to buy a CD because I mean you have to have it. You have to have the album.
Right.
My father left me like I don't know, like something like 300 vinyl, something jazz vinyl. I have many of them. So I buy records. I have everything, like really vinyl, CDs, cassettes. I have many records. If I like a record, I buy it. I don't wanna. I mean, of course, then maybe I listen to some Spotify or YouTube stuff, but I like to have the records. So I collect records and I put them one close to the other. I mean, there is the Wayne Shorter records, then Coltrane records, then the Duke Ellington records, then Hank Mobley records, and I put them one to close to the other. Yeah, I'm a collector.
Awesome. Well, let me show you a couple of records here. I picked out some here that I couldn't pick. There were so many that I probably have. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, several thousand records, and a lot of those are jazz records. But I
Yeah,
picked
you
out
win.
some
You
of
win. You win for sure.
I picked out some just to get your opinion on. Of course, this is kind of where it all starts. Kind of, yeah. I mean, of course, you had swing and that stuff before, but these guys really, and of course, Charlie Parker. Everybody, I think every saxophone player is probably influenced by him in some way, right?
I mean, you are talking about like the first record. You are talking about the first brick. I mean, this record is unbelievable. And of course, why a musician should have this record? But because man, in this record, you find joy of life. This is joy of life. If you listen to this record thinking that you are to learn all the licks they play, I mean, you understood nothing about jazz music. They are enjoying life. They are playing together because they love each other and they love this music. So this record, exactly this record, is like joy of life.
Yeah,
Yeah, I cannot say more than that. I mean, it's a pleasure. It's like it's
yes,
like eating a beautiful, great like food, or
yeah,
or making sex with a beautiful woman, or enjoying a beautiful panorama. I mean, this is life, and this record is like this. So, to me,
yeah. What about Lester Young? I mean, not necessarily this particular. This is a one of the Pablo records, but of course, Lester Young is a big influence. Do you listen to a lot of Lester? Or of course
And
he's
I have to talk a lot. You are terrible. You are really terrible. Lester is so important in modern music, in modern jazz music, much more important than what we think. Because in the tenor saxophone history, I mean, of course, I'm talking from end of 30s on. Okay, okay, and I'm including, of course, Hawkins and Sutzims or these cats, of course. Okay, my idea is that we have like a line that is done by started from Coleman on. There is the line of the saxophone players that were like really bluesy, really strong, with a great, powerful sound, with these great lines, like really strong, that they were saying, "Man, I'm really fucking good cat, I'm like strong." And we have like this line that goes through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s till today. I can tell you, and I believe you agree with me, but of course, Coltrane would never exist if before wasn't Dexter. Dexter would never exist if before there was not like Sonny Rollins, and Sonny Rollins couldn't exist if there was first Charlie Parker, and Charlie Parker couldn't exist if there was no Coleman. It's a line. The other line, it's Lester. And Lester is Joe Anderson, is Joe Lovano, is Joshua Redman, it's Emmanuel Wilkinson, it's Diana Stevens. It's a line that is the dark side of the moon. It is that kind of playing that say it doesn't say, that want to show you something it doesn't show to you. It's that kind of playing that confusing you, and it's so amazing, so beautiful. They uh think about. I was thinking, um Charles Lloyd.
oh yeah, which I was going to show you one of his records here too.
It's that kind of
Yeah,
idea. Of course, like the genius players, the top players, Coltrane, Brecker, Jolovano, the big cats, the giants, Jerry, of course, they took everything for both sides, of course.
right. So you get
But
that
to me, it's quite clear that there are really two lines of players, and Leicester is the beginning of this other line, this smooth and dark side, and I don't know.
more
I don't know if you
elusive.
agree with me.
Yeah, yeah, more elusive, and then kind of more playing outside. Then
It's not just
is
outside.
that?
Shorter. Let's talk about Shorter.
Yeah, which I have one
Shorter
of his
is,
here too.
I mean,
Yeah,
Shorter is Lester Young, of course.
yeah.
Shorter of the medial periods. Okay,
Schizophrenia, which is a little bit later. He started changing a little bit, but go ahead.
yeah, yeah, in this record, but yeah, I mean, in the middle, in the middle of his career, I mean, Shorter is absolutely Lester, absolutely. Exactly like in the beginning is absolutely Coltrane, and of course like Rollins and Coleman, that the other side.
Right.
I mean,
And so here you would have an example of that, right? Dexter Gordon,
uh,
such a fantastic record.
okay, this one I have all the transcriptions if you want.
Oh, really?
Of the,
Oh,
of
wow.
course, of course, of course. of course. Many of these records I transcribed it with pencil and paper, like an asshole, like nights by nights. Yeah, of course, of
Yeah,
course. Like it's
that's an
the only
influential
way.
record, right? And then we get over to this guy, Sonny Stitt, right? Who kind of comes from that Parker type of thing, right?
Well, Sonny, I tell you one story about Sonny Stitt. In the period in which smoking cigarettes was not so heavy like is today for the public opinion, and Ferdinand was smoking like hell. So you were used to go to his lesson. So you opened the door and you couldn't see Ferdinand because the room was full of smoke because he was smoking cigarettes all the time. So at the end of the room, there was Ferdinand sitting on the piano and playing because he's also a fantastic piano player. And you couldn't see him because the room was full of smoke. And the dog of Ferdinand, with the name was Stit, of course, was coming to you, indicating you the way to Ferdinand, through the smoke. So once I said, Ferdinand, but why your dog? I mean, his name is Tit. And was the first time I saw Ferdinand really angry with me. Man, we are talking about Son Tit. You know Son Tit? So you get out of this fucking room. You go to study Son Tit, and then you come back.
Wow.
I said,
So when
this
you
is
went
the
out,
story of us.
you went out and bought a Sonny Stitt record.
At that time, not so much. So I said, okay, Ferdinand, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's
So this
funny.
is the story of Sonny Street. Sonny, I mean, it's if you want to learn how to play jazz, to me, I mean, if you are like a young poodle, okay, and you want, okay, how can I play jazz? What is jazz? What's about jazz? How can I build a line? Two guys, Sonny Stitt, Hank Mobley. You start from there. You have like the vocabulary, all the most beautiful lines in the music history is Sonested and Mobley. And then you are done. Then from there, from
You
then
go.
on, you can learn everything. But start from there. Sonested and Hank Mobley, the best.
And then another one of my favorites from the West Coast kind of thing, Art Pepper,
Um,
who
Art
another
Pepper.
another amazing player.
This
What
is
is?
another amazing player. There was an absolute genius, an absolute genius. And for example, Art Pepper is one of these musicians that don't give a shit about what they are playing. Cioè, Art Pepper is just a spontaneous player, like that plays everything comes to his head. Everything up. This is my sensation when I listen to his records. A guy that doesn't give a fucking shit about bullshit, It's like I play jazz, and jazz is what comes to my mind, to my finger, and if you don't like, fuck you, man. I mean, this is
That's
the
our.
sensation I have. It's just a jewel, that gives lights, and that's it. And it's unbelievable. And of course, the struggle, huh? Hard Pepper is
Yes.
struggling because there is a lot of soft, I mean, deep, deep soul over there. To,
Right.
to me, I mean, this is my
Yeah.
opinion, of course.
Yeah. Well, I have a few more. I hope I'm not taking too much time. I could go through records with you all day,
No,
but
no, it's fantastic. To me, it's beautiful. I mean,
Stan Getz, who I think is kind of underrated by a lot of people. Stan Getz.
which is stupid. No, it's not stupid. It's how can I say?
He's just not
It's
as
it's
popular as a lot of other ones. He doesn't. I don't think he
it's a
gets.
huge I mean, Stan gets. it's is yeah, it's a huge star, huge. It's one of these names that you cannot talk about. Stan Gates is enormous. Is is a giant because
Yeah.
he has an idea of music that you cannot copy. You cannot. Yeah, you can play like him. You can if you study him and you study his lines, his sound. You can. Yeah, maybe you can copy him, but he
He's their
he,
own.
he is so unique, so beautiful, and so artist. Because we have to consider that in jazz music there are incredible musicians, but not so many artists.
Interesting.
To me, if Miles was talking about art, Coltrane was talking about art. Art is something really deep that you understand like a generation later, like Picasso, like Mozart, like Stravinsky, like are this kind of artist that has something more. It's a step more. Shorter is something that is difficult to understand. Also to talk about what can you say about one shorter? Okay, he's a beautiful player, he's a beautiful composer, and then it's something more. It goes more than this. And Stan Getz is like this. Stan Getz is another story.
Right.
It's more than what he plays. It's much more to me.
Yeah, I think he's grossly underrated, underappreciated, not as popular, definitely as a lot of these other guys. We do got to talk about him a little bit more because Charles Lloyd, fantastic player. I don't know. I had a conversation with a Russian piano player named Vladimir Shafranov. He does jazz. He's a jazz pianist, and he started back many years ago. But he talks about when he first landed in Russia, how big of a deal it was. When these guys got off the plane and they played at that festival, and how people were just stunned by not only their playing but their presence. So, but
The
what do you think
presence, yeah.
makes him? Yeah, just how they looked and how they carried themselves, and then of course the playing. He's one of these unique guys that you really. Of course, he's still playing. He just released a new record a few months,
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, One thing that we forgot sometimes is that jazz is a kind of music that give you the chance to express yourself. And all these big names, they had also, they always had one rule: be you. Do not copy anyone. Actually, if you uh, wanted to copy someone, you were out of the jazz scene. All of these guys, they were unique. This is the first rule that they have always. And Charles is unique. I mean, yeah, of course, you can find similar things to Coltrane or to that one, but indeed to me is absolutely unique. It's a voice that has only Charles Lloyd, a way of playing that has only Charles Lloyd, a way of building intervals and lines that has only Charles Lloyd. And when he starts playing, if you are in the car and you don't know that his record, and he starts playing, you say, that's Charles Lloyd. I
Yeah,
mean, he's unique, absolutely unique.
a multi instrumentalist. I mean,
A multi-instrumentalist.
yeah, which is really incredible too. Another guy. Only got a few more, I promise, but Joe Henderson, who again another legend, but Your
A
thoughts?
legend, a legend, a legend. I mean, Matthew, Joe Anderson is it's another Charlie Parker and another Coltrane. Joe Anderson is something else. It's too big. It's too deep, deep. It, I guess he never played a note. There was no deep. There was no meaning something.
Hmm.
When you watch him playing, he's like totally there. It's like totally into the music. It's not showing, it's not moving, it's not doing all bullshit. It's like so deep in this complicated music because he plays really complicated
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Really complicated stuff that he has in his mind. And his same thing. It is, of course, like Lester Young, it's like in that line. He says something and then he doesn't say it anymore. And then he took another idea and then he moves and then he does something like crazy and then he comes back again. It's like a conversation, so deep and dark conversation. He's a giant. He's a
I
giant.
remember when I first got this record, um, I didn't know that much about him, and it took me a while to kind of get you. I listened to it and I was like, I'm not getting this. Let me go back and play it again. And it took several listens to kind of, and it's like, and it starts growing on. You start really,
I believe
it's
it.
very
Yeah.
deep. Yeah.
It's really deep.
A couple more we got. So these guys here are interesting. The Johnny Griffin, Eddie Lockjaw Davis, and one of the interesting things about him, I think it was Vladimir that was telling me about. He was one of the guys that was the enforcers at the jam sessions. I think in New York, and he was one of the guys that would throw you off throw you off the stage if you didn't think you were cutting it. But anyways, these two guys are kind of a little bit different types of players, right? Than
Totally
Joe Hen.
different kind of
Yeah.
place. Yeah. Totally. I saw Griffin many times in Amsterdam.
Oh,
Many
really?
times. Yeah. Unbelievable. The B-Mouse. B-Mouse is a club, a famous club in Amsterdam. I guess the most famous club in Amsterdam. If you play at the B-Mouse, you're something. And there I saw Griffin many times. He played there. And it's, of course, an incredible emotion.
Yeah.
You are listening like jazz in person. Griffin is like jazz in person. He's the jazz player, really.
I forgot to grab my Sonny Rollins records, but let's touch on Sonny Rollins for a minute. I have a whole separate section of Sonny Rollins in my house where I have all his records, and I forgot to
which,
grab one
which
of the.
which is your best Rollins record?
It's hard. You know, Tenor Madness. I like Saxophone Colossus a lot.
Okay.
But you know what else I really like? It is Now's the Time. Now's the
Yeah.
time, which is 4
Yeah.
minute standards that I think is brilliant because to me that record demonstrates on how people can get in and say something within 3 or 4 minutes and say a lot. In other words, it doesn't take him 8 or 10 minutes to say something. He can
He,
do it in just a few minutes.
of course, he wrote the jazz history. I mean, he wrote the jazz history. Oh, is the jazz history. So what you are saying is absolutely understandable and correct. I love, and I'm totally in love and totally crazy and in love with the trio version live Village Vanguard double
Oh
CD
yeah.
double record.
Yes.
That one Rollins there is really uh, is playing his idea of jazz, but is also writing a new step of thinking about improvisation. There is of course Saxophone Colossus, Bridge, all of the records you
Bridge.
mentioned. Of course, they are. amazing. But I guess in the double record in Village Vanguard live in trio pianoless, there is something happened. Something happened over there. Is giving us a lesson. He's telling us, guys, when you play, you can do something more. You can get into the black spot, the one that gives you pain. There, you can touch that area of your soul or your deepness and conscience. There, you should look for there. That record is really deep, I guess.
Did you get the new one, the new expanded edition that they just put out, Blue Note?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
They just released a new version that has extra tracks. Very good. We
And
can't.
you are talking about your new release, but I just put my name on the list to have like Bird of the Blues, the Miles. The new one is coming out. Did you see it?
What's it called?
Bird of the Blues. These are the track they recorded in the session of Kind of Blue.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's coming out maybe in a week
That's
or two.
coming out.
Yeah,
Bird of the
yeah,
Blues.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
That's
just
it.
I just uh, I
Ordered
just
that.
ordered it.
I
Yeah.
got to get that. I have to get that too. We can't.
I'm waiting. I'm
We
waiting.
we can't go anywhere without. These are probably two of my favorites. Although, I mean, you really, what can you say about him? But this one was the first I think album I ever bought of his, and it still sticks with me. And then of course, this is the new edition of this. But yeah, what do you
No,
say about John Coltrane? I mean,
no, I cannot say anything about it. It's too big to me. I cannot say anything.
the
It's
the
too big.
the changes
Coltrane
that
is the most beautiful tenor sound ever. The most beautiful tenor sound, the most beautiful lines, the most beautiful ideas, the most beautiful soul. I mean, Coltrane, it hurts you. Coltrane hurts you.
and of course he kind of changed as he went. He kind of started off with that bop, hard bop kind of thing, and then he evolved. Then you get to kind of the giant steps, and then he goes on to Love Supreme, and kind of even starts going further out. And some people criticize that. To me, I don't think that the musician should have to be locked into one thing. And a lot of people want not only in jazz but in other genres of music, they want the band to put the same things out over and over again. And to me, I can see how musicians would get tired of doing that. I play guitar. I'm not a jazz musician, but you kind of get tired of doing the same thing. And with John Coltrane, he just kind of kept expanding his vocabulary and going further, really developing a new vocabulary, right?
I mean, to me, in concerning art, it's difficult. I don't understand criticism. I don't understand it. I mean, you can say I don't like it, and it's okay. I mean, you don't have to like everything. It's okay. But to critic, give it, yeah, giving like to give your opinion, like in a way of destroying the opera that someone did believing, because what Coltrane, the first thing of Coltrane is like, I believe in what I do. It's my soul. It's not, it's honest. Okay. Coltrane is honest. I mean, to give a criticism to this kind of work, if you are able to do it, okay, but you don't. So, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
don't do it.
I recently listened to a record by Cecil Taylor. Okay, Cecil Taylor, the pianist. And I still don't get that record. It's the Live at the Montmartre recording. It's supposed to be. I did a video on it last week or week before
Okay.
last, and I listened to it, and I don't know what the guy's doing. To be honest, I've listened to that record a few times now, and I'm like, I'm not getting it. This is not. I don't understand what he's doing, and to me, it just sounds so far out that I just now. Does that mean that the guy's not a great musician or whatever? Well, no, I'm not going to say that. But as far as musically, it doesn't hit me, right? So I don't have a problem saying that. It's just not hitting me. I don't
It
get
can
it.
happen. It can happen,
But
of course.
but maybe at some point it will if I listen to it more. Maybe at some point it'll click. But I didn't know what's your take on that kind of playing. Caesar Taylor's pretty far out there. It's, some people left comments on my channel. They're like, okay, are they done warming up yet? Are they going to start playing any songs? Because he gets it's pretty crazy.
Now,
So,
with I believe that the reason is because we are talking about big artists. That's the reason. So I mean, I tell you, when I was young, I was like 17. I had a tour with my girlfriend and the boyfriend of the my girlfriend's sister. Yeah, uh, it was a fan of Coltrane, so he had in his car all the records of Coltrane. And I was 17, and I didn't like it at all. I didn't understand it. I didn't like it. It was like shitty music to me. And then, of course, now I cannot stay without Coltrane. I cannot think about my life without Coltrane, of course. And I guess it's just because we are talking about artists, big, huge, unbelievably huge artists, and they uh, play that their soul and their idea of art that sometimes it's understandable we don't understand it. It's okay.
mhm,
Maybe we need time to get into it.
right.
Maybe it's a matter of time, or it's a matter of our culture or our. I mean, I guess it's normal. Maybe it arrives a moment in which that record will be to you an unbelievable and fantastic record. It's. I guess it's normal because we are talking about art, and
Right.
art is not easy at all.
Right. And that's one thing about, I think jazz and classical music, I only got two more, I promise. But jazz and classical, it takes some effort. It's some effort that
Mhm.
I think the listener needs to put in. Because, if you listen to, I still like rock music, but there's very little effort because you have a syncopated beat. You've got, the same progression. It's easy to get into. Uh, it doesn't take much effort to listen to a rock or pop, most rock or pop music,
Of
right?
course, this is
Where
one of the reasons why people go less than the 70s or the 60s to jazz concerts. Almeno, at least in Italy, it's like this. Jazz is going down. Why? Because people don't want to think. Jazz uh, asks you to think, to make an effort, you know. But continue, please.
no, yeah. So I got two more, and I could have picked a whole bunch of them, but I love Branford Marsalis. Now another, of
Ah,
course,
Brantford.
another. These guys are always kind of controversial sometimes, but great record here. What do you think about him? He's of course.
I know him personally. I
Okay,
know
so
him personally.
tell us a little bit about him because I find him very interesting. I like
Fantastic
his.
guy. Fantastic guy. I had a chance to meet him several times, and he went often in Amsterdam, and I went to his concerts many times. He was Brentford is a talented saxophone player. He's really high talented saxophone player. His way of playing is really sometimes really difficult because he's really high level of player. It's not there. You have to make really an effort because it's tough. Brentford is really giant. It's really giant. It's a really great musician.
Very very
Like
technical,
like
right?
like like Bob Berg, for example. You know, those cats are tough guys.
One more who I think is not recognized enough now. That's been around for a while, but this guy can play. Eric Alexander,
Wow.
and
Okay.
very. I think he's a fantastic player.
It is.
But he's not very well known. Again, at
No,
least not
here
as
in
well
Italy
known.
is well known
Is
actually. In
he?
Italy is well known. Yeah, his way of playing is far from my idea of jazz, but still is really fantastic player. I mean, I, I really like his way of playing. It's far from mine, from my idea, but I have to accept that he is really an amazing player, amazing player, and it's well known here. It's really well known.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think he's pretty well known as far as, but it's. I think among record collectors and people that are collecting jazz records, he's probably not as well known. Um, so a couple more things. What's coming up for you now? You teach still correctly, so you're still
Yeah,
teaching. That's probably a large part of what your time is spent doing. But what about playing live? Are you going to be playing live soon anywhere, or how is that?
I teach and I also direct a big band. I'm a
Okay,
director of I'm really lucky because I had the chance to collect several musicians in Catania, and they are all of them. They are great musicians, really guys that really are into jazz music that can say something in this music, and they are all fantastic players. So my dream was to have my own big band, and I did it, and I'm very happy with that. So we have been playing with Dan Shepard lately, with James Morrison. We had a couple of concerts with James, trumpet player.
James who?
James Morrison is
More?
he comes from Australia.
I don't know him.
James Morrison is it's an unbelievable player. It's well known on the jazz scene. James Morrison. I
Okay.
suggest you to.
Yeah, yeah.
He's Australian from
I'm always
Australia.
learning. I'm always learning. Yeah.
Yeah, James. You have to consider that James has been playing with all the huge names. Dizzy, Arturo Sandoval, and I can tell you many tours with B.B. King, tours with Ray Charles. He played with many musicians, and he's an unbelievable player because he's a multi instrumentalist. He plays piano, double bass, drums,
Wow.
guitar, uh, trombone, trumpet, saxophone. He plays everything. But he plays all of those instruments in an unbelievable way.
Wow.
He's a great guy. And I've been playing with him, with the big band, Andy Shepard, and many projects. And of course, I'm into Count Basie music, so sometimes we do concert in that direction. And then, of course, I have Odisseia, so I play with the quintet. And I want to write a new album, so I'm thinking about that also.
So are you in
Let's see.
Sicily? You live in Sicily?
I live here in Sicily. Yeah, at the moment
Okay.
I'm in the Vulcano's feet, Etna. So,
So
and this is,
you have to take a flight to get over to see Lorenzo then, or a boat, right? Or either one.
yeah, I have to drive like 800 kilometers to reach Lorenzo. Yeah.
Cool. So, and any idea when you're going to record the new record, or is it still in the you're still in the works
No,
preparing?
I'm still working on it, and I want to take time. Let's see. No, at the time I don't have any planning, but it will arrive. I know that it will arrive.
And any advice for any aspiring saxophone players? If someone's going to buy their first saxophone, and this is always something because I play guitar and play a little piano, but saxophone I've always been interested in. But you can spend anywhere from $1,500 all the way up to $20,000. What do you think is some place to start with those? I mean, do you have to get a Selmer to start or Yamaha? What do you just some thoughts on that?
If you would ask me that like 20 years ago, I would tell you that, of course, Selmer as being like the most influenced brand. Uh, Now I understood that if you have a sound in mind, you can have it with any instrument. And also, many brands are coming out and building fantastic instruments. I do have, of course, a Selmer. Vintage is from the 49, Spring 49. So it's Coltrane period. and it's a super balance. But still, I can tell you that if you have a sound in mind nowadays, if you have a sound in mind, you can have it with any instrument. And of course, a good instrument costs a lot. This is a fact. But still, for 20 years ago, I was like into it, and now I can tell you, well, you can take a Chinese instrument with the plastic mouthpiece, but if you have a sound in mind, you can reach it.
Interesting. So, and
Yeah.
and before we go, I've already taken up a lot of your time, so I don't want to keep you any. I've really
No, no,
enjoyed
it's a pleasure.
talking with you. But as far as picking, you picked soprano and tenor, right? And you don't
Yeah,
play alto. Is there a reason or
yeah,
what?
I do. I do. I play alto. Yeah,
Oh, you
yesterday
do.
night I had a gig with the alto. Yeah, I like alto too.
So you play all
But my
three.
my yeah, but my instrument is the tenor, of course. And but I have gigs with alto and soprano too. Well, soprano mostly for like pop records, for example. Sometimes studios ask you to record some solo in a pop tune, and so I use the soprano in that occasions. But my instruments is the tenor. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with me, and I really enjoyed our conversation. And I could, like I
It's,
said, I could go through records all day with you and talk about
me too.
jazz with
Me
you.
too.
So,
Me too.
but
I'm with you with that.
I appreciate you coming by, and hopefully we'll
And
talk soon
I
again.
really thank you. You don't know how much is this beautiful occasion to me. I'm telling you, really, I'm honest with that. I'm really happy and beautiful time. Fantastic. I
Awesome.
thank
Well,
you for
thank
that.
you. Yes, thank you.